Tonight in high definition from Omaha, Nebraska and Rosenblatt Stadium, college baseball's field of dreams, where in the same moment championships are won and hearts are broken.
Never seen no sky so crystal clear. Never walked on grass so green.
Now Warren Morris. Here's a deep drive down the right field line. That ball is gone! LSU wins the College World Series on a home run by Morris. A great hitter rises to the occasion to win the national championship.
Tonight, these two storied powerhouses collide for the first time since LSU broke Miami's heart 8 years ago. Together, they've taken 5 of the last 8 NCAA titles, and they have each come to Omaha rolling, having swept through their respective regionals. Two juggernauts ready to clash. Can they conjure up another classic? Big crowds and great baseball have become synonymous with Omaha. The game's best have chased their dreams here for more than a half-century, and tonight the pursuit begins anew for two of the nation's premier programs, the Tigers of LSU and the Miami Hurricanes. Yesterday, Texas and Georgia moved into the winner's bracket and face each other on Sunday night, with Arizona and Arkansas matched in an elimination game. This afternoon, Jason Windsor threw the first complete game shutout in 10 years here in Omaha to carry Cal State Fullerton over South Carolina. Good evening, everybody. Mike Patrick along with Jeff Brantley. It's great to have you with us. We saw last year with Rice how pitching can dominate out here. We saw it last night with Texas. We saw it this afternoon with Cal State Fullerton. And if you believe in statistics, Jeff, we should see it again tonight from Miami.
Well, I definitely think we'll see it in Miami tonight with Cesar Carrillo. Don't forget that name, because this kid has the best stuff in the College World Series this year. Last time out, a complete game. He struck out a career-high 9 strikeouts. Didn't get to play for the Hurricanes last year. This guy has what it takes. He's going to throw the ball 91, 92 miles an hour until he gets himself in trouble, and then you're going to see 94, 95. This kid has got what it takes.
Now, if LSU can do anything with Carrillo tonight, who are the guys?
Well, it's got to start with J.C. Holt at the top of the order. He has got to work this guy. He's got to get a lot of pitches. He's got to make Carrillo throw a lot of pitches, especially early in the ball game. Blake Gill and John Zarang, both of these guys have got to be the ones that drive in the runs. If they can't do it, LSU is going to be in big trouble.
Two of the legendary programs in college baseball set to square off when we come back to the College World Series in Omaha. Of the College World Series, LSU and Miami. They have not met since that dramatic walk-off home run of Warren Morris. Let's take a look at LSU's starting lineup tonight under Smoke Laval. J.C. Holt, the center fielder, will lead it off. He's their best base stealer. Ryan Patterson, a junior, is in left field. He'll bat second. The shortstop is Blake Gill, the number 3 hitter. John Zarang will play right field and bat cleanup. Nick Stavinaugh is the DH tonight. He's a right-handed hitter and a junior. Ivan Nakarada is the second baseman, a left-handed batter. Matt Liuzza, a sophomore, is the catcher. Hitting 8th, Clay Harris, a junior, and his brother Will Harris will play first base and bat 9th. Ray Smoke Laval, who took over for the legendary Skip Bertman, and all that pressure that comes with a job at LSU. But he's got a great sense of humor. He knows how to deflect it. Brought a very young team here last year, and he's ready to win some games tonight. But Jeff, he's got to face one of, if not the toughest pitcher out here.
Well, I believe that this Carrillo is the toughest pitcher in the tournament, and they are going to have to play some great baseball tonight if they're going to be successful.
Falls behind 2-0, 68 degrees at game time. Nice night here in Omaha, in contrast to how cold it was 24 hours ago. And Carrillo falls behind J.C. Holt 3-0. Got a fastball in there, 3-1. And Holt is the table setter. He is the only one on this team who has more than 6 stolen bases. They don't run that much, but they do swing the bats. Holt slaps this down the left field line, twisting it fair into the corner. It'll be a ground rule double. Great start for the LSU offense.
Anytime that you get behind in the count and you have to come in with a fastball, especially one that's up belt high, left-handed hitter looking to slash the other way, and he does that well.
Just inside the line, about 332 feet, and kicked up in the stands. And now Ryan Patterson, his job will be to get that runner over. Patterson, another Texas product, hitting .340. As the number 2 man in the order, he's the team's home run leader and RBI leader.
The one thing that we did fail to mention about Cesar Carrillo is this is his first appearance at Omaha in the College World Series. And Mike, we all know how that goes. First time out, jitters are everywhere.
We have seen how that has worked for all of them, no matter how good their numbers are coming in. And you've got to remember, even though it's LSU and Miami and these teams are fixtures in the College World Series, not all of these guys have been here. There are very few veterans.
They change every year.
Yes, they do. Hangs that very high. 3-1 to Patterson to start the first inning. And Jim Morris, in his brilliant career, he has won twice in Miami, is seeing his ace struggle with the first 2 hitters. Hit hard and through into right field for a base hit. Giannotti will come up with it and makes a throw. It's going to go all the way to the backstop. 1-0 LSU. Giannotti showed off his arm strength, but not necessarily the accuracy, as he threw it about 340 feet.
Well, Mike, you just got finished saying it. He's got to be able to get him over. Patterson does a great job driving the ball to the right side. Not only does he get the runner over, he gets him in. And Giannotti just uncorks it all the way to the backstop and allows Patterson to move into second base.
Ricks laid out, trying to knock it down and save a run, but couldn't. It's an RBI single, and Patterson goes to second on the throw to the plate.
This is exactly what the LSU Tigers have got to do early in this ball game. If they don't get to Carrillo early, they may not get to him at all.
And right now, a runner at second, still nobody out for Blake Gill. 344 hitter. There's another base hit. Patterson held up between second and third and can't advance. Now the throw gets away, and Gill will be able to make it into second base. 3 straight hits to start the game. Well, Carrillo's got to be thinking, what's going on here? This doesn't happen to me.
Well, you see these numbers, 11-0, 2.73. This kid has yet to lose a ball game. 105 2/3 innings. He's only given up 86 hits. This guy has been their #1 pitcher all year long. But just like we said, Mike, We're at the College World Series, and the first time you come here, jitters, nerves, they all enter in. Your adrenaline's pumping. This right now for Carrillo, he has got to get the ball down, and he's got to get his breaking ball over the plate for a strike, and he's not doing it right now because his heart's beating 100 miles an hour.
Jeff, his opponent's batting average is only .223 this year, but LSU as a team comes in hitting .330. That ties the best mark here in the College World Series field this year, and they have racked up 3 straight hits, and now John Zarang, the right fielder, who was second on the club in RBI, stands in. He's driven in 55 this year. Good clutch hitter, a power hitter, and he skies this one to straightaway center. That'll be caught by Barton, but it will get a run home. The throw goes to third. It's 2-0 LSU, a sacrifice fly for John Zarang.
And this is exactly what we talked about, Mike, when we opened this ball game. These are the tactics that LSU has got to put together to beat a guy that's 11-0 coming into the College World Series.
And keep in mind that Miami is a team that like to manufacture runs. They play small ball. They usually don't get them in bunches. So the more you can get at the top, the harder it is for them to play ball the way they want to. Stavinoff, the designated hitter, stands in at .335 and takes a fastball right down the middle for a called strike. Three straight hits and a sacrifice fly and some sloppy fielding.
Well, this is a great test for Cesar Carrillo because he has got to be able to gather himself. He's got to be able to get his breath back. He's got to step off the mound, and we see him doing that right now. Big pitch right here against Stavinoff. He can get a strikeout right here. I think it'll calm him down a little bit, and he can get back into his rhythm.
Got him to chase a breaking ball. 2 gone.
I can tell you right now, Jim Morris will be very happy if they can come out of this inning after all we've seen with a two-run deficit, knowing that Carrillo is on the mound.
Ivan Nakarada stands in. He is one of only 2 regulars hitting under 300 for this Miami club, and he pops this one foul back in the seats.
Now, the last 4 pitches that we've seen from Carrillo have been down in the strike zone. They've been located well. You saw that slider that he struck out Stavinoff with. That is the Carrillo that we described early in this ball game.
Exactly. And if coaches could ever find the secret to calm guys down in the top of the first. Yeah, that's right. Carrillo gave up a first-inning run in the Super Regional against Florida, and then he was absolutely lights out. Didn't even get a loud foul off of him the rest of the day. And he's got an attitude, too. 4 hits, struck out 9. And that was a season high for him. Pretty pitch.
That pitch right there, when he can throw that pitch for a strike, it keeps everybody off balance. Then you can't look for that super velocity fastball that he brings in there with runners on base. And you see him now. He's taking his time. He's stepping off the mound a little bit, trying to gather himself. As we look at J.D. Ortega, he is the pitching coach for the Miami Hurricanes.
1-2 from Carrillo. And time called by Nakarada. 2-0 LSU, top of the first. Consecutive base hits, a double, a single, and a single. Got this game started against the Miami Ace. That one's in the dirt and blocked well by San Pedro. Some great catchers out here. Oh, he was a second-round draft choice of the Expos. And you just see one great backstop after another. And as a pitcher, if you had a catcher that could get down in the dirt and you knew you couldn't throw it by him, what a luxury.
Well, this kid, we're going to see him throw to bases all night long trying to pick guys off.
High fastball popped back over our head. And Carrillo has had first inning problems basically all year. Has a very good ERA coming in to this game at 2.73, but in the first inning for the season it's 7.2. And if he's been nervous everywhere else, can you imagine what he's feeling in Omaha? Slap toward the hole and through into left field. Here comes Gill. 3-0. Blake Gill scores from second on the hit. And Carrillo struggling to get out of the first.
Mike, watch this pitch right here. This is that backdoor breaking ball that he threw earlier for a strike. He leaves it up this time, and Nakarada just slaps it in the hole between short and third base. You've got to get that ball down if you're coming behind the batter on that backdoor breaking ball.
RBI single for Nakarada, and Matt Liuzza, the sophomore catcher, stands in. Another good hitter, 330 in the postseason. He's hitting .409 through 7 games. Out of Metairie, Louisiana. Two out, a runner at first, 3 already in for the Tigers.
Mike, you talked about the emotion of Cesar Carrillo. He does have a tremendous amount of emotion on the mound, and I guarantee you he is not happy with what's going on right now.
Fastball misses, snap throw to first, close. San Pedro showing off his arm.
We're going to see that all night from San Pedro. This guy has an absolute cannon.
2 outs now.
Not only is he going to come up and make a pick to first base like he's doing right here, and Jim Burt makes a nice job of trying to pick him at first base, but he will pick off guys at first, second, and third. He will throw anytime he gets a chance.
See, he had the Miami record a year ago, and now they've got the runner hung up between first and second. That was a delayed steal. It was not very well executed, and San Pedro throws down for the strikeout. And Carrillo gets out of the inning, but he's burned for 3 early runs by LSU. And Jim Morris will be waiting for him in the Miami dugout. And Smoke Laval has to be about as pleased as he can be after a half inning. Dave Ryan, the third member of our broadcast team. Let's check in with him right now. David.
All right, Mike, thanks so much. It's not something that Miami head coach Jim Morris wants to talk about or think about too much, but let's face it, he just can't help it. The 1996 Warren Morris walk-off national championship game-winning home run we saw earlier in the broadcast today. Coach Morris told us this morning he was actually thinking of the design of his team's championship ring, where the Diamonds would go, before Robbie Morrison threw that fateful pitch that was knocked out of the yard by Warren Morris. J.D. Arteaga is the Canes pitching coach. He was on the top step, guys, of the dugout down the first base line and was watching. He pitched that day through 7 1/3 innings, didn't factor in the decision, but was ready to join in on the Miami National Championship dog pile that never quite took place. Unforgettable moment for LSU and Miami.
You know, David, what I liked was their honesty this morning in our meeting. Some guys would say, hey, that was 8 years ago. It's over. And they remember it like it happened yesterday.
I guarantee you, anytime that you come here and you have a chance to win the College World Series, you are going to remember every pitch, every second, every bite, everything that's going on. And I can tell you right now, watching this ball game, knowing this Miami club, 3 runs are not going to win this game.
I don't think so either. But LSU did get off to the start at once. And here's the Hurricanes lineup under Jim Morris. John Jay will lead it off. Left-handed batting left fielder. Adam Ricks, the second baseman, a switch hitter, will hit second. Ryan Braun is the DH, used to be the shortstop before he was injured. The great Jim Burt will be the cleanup man. Brian Barton, who has as much natural talent as anybody, will play center field and bat fifth. Eric San Pedro, the catcher, is in the number 6 hole. Gary Sanchez is the third baseman. He hits 7th. Roger Tomas, the freshman shortstop, bats 8th. And batting 9th and playing right field, Richard Giannotti.
Nate Bumstead is going to be the starting pitcher for the LSU Bengal Tigers, and the biggest thing for Bumstead in this ball game is for him to keep his adrenaline under control. If he tries to overpower hitters, he's going to be in big trouble. He's got a changeup that really drops off the table as long as he doesn't try to throw the ball too hard. We talked about it in the first day that they were here. Just about him going out and trying to stay relaxed and make pitches. If he can do that, he'll have a good night.
He has given up more hits than innings pitched this year. An opponent's hitting .279 off of the right-hander, and an ERA of 3.57. And even with the aluminum bat, 3.57's got to worry you a little bit. John Jay at 364 goes after a pitch down around his ankles and fouls it off.
We're going to see two different pitching styles tonight from Nate Bumstead and Cesar Carrillo. Carrillo is going to be a strikeout pitcher. Bumstead is going to be trying to get as quick as he can to get the ball put into play. Doesn't want to throw too many pitches early. Wants to make these Miami Hurricanes put the ball in play and use his defense.
Check swing. Did not go. 2-2 to John Jay, who Jim Morris described as a guy who doesn't run that well, but gets on a lot and is a good base runner. Just doesn't have the blinding speed. Last 12 games he's been on fire, and Bumstead strikes out the first batter.
You can watch Bumstead bring that ball right behind his head. It's very difficult to pick up for a batter. The ball comes out from the back of his head. Very hard to pick up because it looks like it's coming out of his face. Can't pick the ball up, and he's only throwing the ball 83, 84 miles an hour. Great deception from Bumstead.
There's a pitch on the corner at the knees to Adam Ricks, a .336 hitter. 10th round draft choice of the White Sox this year out of San Ramon, California. Foul off the right side. 0-2.
And we can see where Bumstead's location is right now. It's down around the hollow of the knee. He's got to work from the knees down. He can't make mistakes up in the zone. If he makes mistakes up in the zone against this ball club, they're going to be catching him out there in the outfield stands.
Set up outside and waste a fastball. It's interesting to see the different philosophies on 0-2 counts. I mean, some guys are going to throw a ball 3 feet out of the strike zone, and other people want to nibble at the corners, at least have a chance to get a strike.
Well, LSU last year and this year, and I think we're going to see this throughout the time that this is just their philosophy. When they get 0-2, they throw the ball about a foot outside, trying to get the hitter to lean out over the plate a little bit, and then they come try to bust you back inside.
There it is, right inside, fouled into the dugout. Of course, as a hitter with all sorts of scouting reports, you're supposed to be anticipating this kind of thing, aren't you?
That is correct.
Ricks, as you see, hitting near 400 in the NCAA tournament, and the count runs full to the left-hander with Ryan Braun on deck. 3 big power guys coming up in the Miami lineup. This one's hit into the gap in right center field, and that will get all the way to the wall. Ricks on his way to second, and he'll hold with a stand-up double as John Zarang had to chase it down on the track and get it back in.
Well, you see the velocity. This is definitely a fastball. It's 88 miles an hour. It's belt high, and it's in the middle of the plate. That's what we were talking about right off the bat with Nate Bumstead. If he tries to overpower the hitters, we don't want to see, LSU does not want to see Nate Bumstead throwing the ball 88 miles an hour. They want to see 83, 84, and they want that changeup around 75. That's where he's going to be successful.
Ryan Braun stands in. The sophomore was Baseball America's Rookie of the Year a year ago. Injuries really hurt his power numbers this season. Missed 18 games. This one is launched. Very high, very deep. Goodbye. It's 3-2. Now his power numbers may be down for the year, but they were up on that one.
no sooner do I get it out of my mouth and the next two pitches are belt high, and where did they go? One went to right center field and one's a souvenir in the left field stands.
Braun with his 10th home run of the year. That puts him 3rd on the club. When Bumstead knew it the moment it left the bat too.
Bumstead cannot be successful in that part of the plate. He's got to be down around the knees. If he misses, it's got to be down in the dirt.
And he has not had a great postseason. In the Super Regional, 2/3 of an inning, he gave up 5 runs. In his defense, only 1 of them was earned and allowed 3 hits. But now he's got to face probably the toughest hitter on this club, Jim Burt. Breaking ball in for a called strike, and Burt has just had another sensational year. In the regionally at 667. This year he was drafted by the Mets in the 19th round. Last year drafted 5th by the Toronto Blue Jays and chose to come back as a senior in college. I don't know if chose is the right word, because Jim Burt Sr. Told Jim Morris, "You want him back?" And Jim's answer was really quick.
Yeah.
And we might find a slot for him.
Well, you see the difference in the pitches now. He's got the ball back down in the strike zone. He has got to stay down there. The thing about it is, when you miss down in the strike zone, even if the ball bounces in the dirt, you're changing the eye level of the hitter. You're trying to make him move forward a little bit, trying to make him guess a little bit whether that ball's right at the kneecaps or not.
2-2 to Burt. They try to come inside. He fights it off toward right center, and that one will drop in for a base hit. You might chalk that one up to the aluminum bat.
Well, you might want to chalk that up to the biceps of Jim Burt. You look at this guy. This guy is built like a brick house. Bumstead does what he needs to do. He gets the ball in on him, but Burt is so strong. It's almost an Andres Galarraga type swing. Push that ball, get the bat inside of it, and just force it right over the second baseman.
Brian Barton stands in, a remarkable story. Young man is not just a ball player. He is an aerospace engineering major. And he constantly has a book in his hands. This was a guy that was a walk-on. Walked into Jim Morris's office, laces this one into left field for a base hit. So Miami not intimidated at all by dropping behind 3-0 in the top of the first. And they've had 4 hits in the inning, a double, a home run, and 2 straight singles.
You can see Barton getting inside of that ball right there, and that's going to be a big key for him. As long as he tries to stay inside the ball and think to himself that he's driving the ball in the right center field gap, those balls right there will come out as line drives instead of him rolling over with the top hand and hitting a slow ground ball.
And this is a young man with great natural talent and still learning how to play the game of baseball. Inside corner, called strike to Eric San Pedro. .330 hitter, has some power, a second-round draft choice of the Expos, and a brilliant defensive catcher. Swung over the top, 0-2.
And when Bumstead throws that changeup and it's down there like that, you're going to get those types of swings. He's got to stay down in the zone, and I would actually like to see him take even a little bit more off of that changeup. But as we talked about Carrillo, you get out there in that first inning.
Exactly.
Heartbeat central.
2 on, 2 out. 0-2 on San Pedro. And I don't know if the casual fan would say, well, if you're too pumped up, how could that affect your changeup? But it does.
Yes, it does. It makes it too hard.
High fastball fouled away. You often hear pitchers and pitching coaches talk about a guy maybe a little bit tired, during a ball game or from pitching a lot of innings the time before, and his stuff is so much better, and they attribute it to that.
Well, I think that Bumstead, the more fatigued he gets, the better off he's going to be.
Tyler was all right.
All right.
I can deal with that. On the corner, called strike 3. Second out of the inning. Both have been strikeouts.
Looking for the changeup right on the inside corner.
Both pitchers have struggled in the first inning. And it's 3-2 LSU. That was close.
On that play right there, all you're trying to look for as a pitcher is a little bit of daylight between the runner at second base, Jim Burt, and the shortstop, Blake Gill. If you see any daylight at all, you spin and you turn immediately and try to make that quick throw to second base.
Gabby Sanchez with a chance to drive home the tying run, takes a called strike. Sanchez, a .314 hitter. Another one of those guys of the Hurricanes on the AD honor roll. A lot of great students on this ball club. And you find that more in baseball, I think, than any other college sport. Toward the hole and through for a base hit. And we're going to be tied at 3. The play is at the third base and not in time. So the Hurricanes have responded to the 3-run burst by LSU. They have 3 of their own.
Another ball that's up in the strike zone, a seeing eye single right through the shortstop third base hole. The thing about it, Mike, is if you get that ball down just a little bit more, that ball rolls over to third base. He's got a chance to make the play. But when the ball's up in the strike zone, you get a lot better look at it, and you get a lot better part of the bat on the baseball.
Well, when you're a pitcher and you give up 3 runs in the first inning and your team comes back and gives you 3 to tie it up, what a relief, huh?
I think Mr. Carrillo is feeling pretty good right now.
Brady Wiederhold makes a visit to talk to his pitcher, Nate Bumstead, hoping he can get out of a big jam. Giving up 5 hits in the first inning. And Roger Tomas stands in. Switch hitting shortstop. Young man from South Florida who was so quiet and soft spoken when everybody started pronouncing his name Thomas. He started calling himself Thomas. Finally, Jim Morris said, if your name is Tomas, tell him your name is Tomas. Missed the corner. 2-0.
The one thing that Jim Morris did tell us about this young man is that he can flat pick it at shortstop. And even after Ryan Braun had some problems because of the injury, he got out there and worked with him, tried to build his confidence, and he has helped this club.
This one is hit hard to right, going back. Sarang to the warning track to make the catch. 8-men bat in the Miami first. They leave 2 but score 3. We have tied the game at 3 between LSU and the Hurricanes. This one is launched. Very high, very deep. Goodbye. It's 3-2. Now his power numbers may be down for the year, but they were up on that one. And here's another look at that monster shot brought to you by Monster.com. Measured at 385 feet into a slight wind. And there have been very few long balls so far in this College World Series, but that one got out of here in a heartbeat. And Braun helped his club come back to tie it at 3. Liuzzo will lead it off in the LSU second inning against Cesar Carrillo. fastball for a called strike, 1-1.
Well, you can see the calmness in the mechanics already from Carrillo, just coming out and just flipping that breaking ball over the plate for strike.
Came inside with a fastball, and if his performance is anything like it was in the Super Regional, the 3 they got in the first may be the only 3 they get. LSU hopes that's not the case. Yeah, go ahead, eat it. Look good.
Don't think that pitch that went inside got away from Carrillo either. This kid has got some major moxie. After a breaking ball, I think he won't come in there.
Comes in again. Of course, we told you about some of the first inning struggles he's had. 44 runs have scored against Carrillo. 20 have come in the first. Got to get him thrown on the side for about 15 minutes before they send him out there. Loses him on a base on balls. Liuza is on to start the second. Walked 39 coming in, struck out 85 in 105 and 2/3 innings. Really, with the power he pitches, we could think the strikeout numbers would be a little more than that.
Well, I think that part of that is that he is such a slow starter, and he's just learning how to pitch. I mean, this guy sat out all of last year, didn't pitch 1 game.
Clay Harris takes a fastball on the inside corner for a called strike.
But I really believe as time goes on, we're gonna hear this name, Cesar Carrillo, a whole lot more.
Harris, a .295 hitter. He and his brother in the 8-9 in the LSU order.
And we can see the velocity of Carrillo right now. It's somewhere between 87 and 90. And as we get into the 4th or 5th inning, I think you're going to see a lot more velocity from this kid.
Foul out of play. 1-2 to Clay Harris, the junior third baseman. And Adam Ricks wants to come in to talk for a moment.
Wonder what it would be like to play on the same team with your brother, especially hitting right behind him.
I think that'd be cool.
Brothers on the corners.
First and third. Called strike 3 outside corner at the knees, and a generous call at that. Of course, you never minded a generous call, did you?
Love those calls. Now that shows you the skill of Eric San Pedro. He sets up just a little bit off the plate, but he keeps the heel of his glove on the outside corner. And by keeping the heel of his glove there, even though that ball appeared to be off the plate, the umpire saw it as a strike.
There's a good pitch, snap throw down to first by San Pedro, and Will Harris is behind 0-1. And San Pedro will throw anywhere, anytime.
You fall asleep on the base paths as an LSU Tiger, you are toast.
Will Harris looking in. He's had a good NCAA, 329 on the year and 9 for 19 in postseason. Top of the second in a 3-3 game between LSU and Miami. Fastball missed low. 2 balls and a strike to Will Harris, who is an improving power hitter.
Well, I don't even know that Will Harris was going to be scheduled to be the starting first baseman when this season began, but with some injuries and some other things that happened at LSU, he's got playing time now.
And he's the number 9 hitter with a .329 average and 7 home runs, which tells you what kind of a powerful offensive lineup that Smoke Laval has this year. Plus, he has the experience of having this club to Omaha a season ago. Another good pitch outside corner at the knees.
Well, Jim Morris told us that every once in a while, especially in the bottom of the order, Carrillo tends to lose his concentration a little bit, trying to overthrow the baseball simply because he's got the bottom of the order there.
3-2 to Harris. Chop toward third. Sanchez only played a first low throw, and Burt can't hold it. And the lead runner advances to third. First and third on the chopper. Error on the throw by Gabby Sanchez. He has a very strong, not always an accurate arm.
Well, this is a very weak ground ball. Just doesn't get his body moving towards first base enough, and you can see him almost short arm that ball to first. He had plenty of time, but great instincts by Matt Liuzza to go ahead and take third base when he saw that ball bounce out of Jim Burt's glove.
The 22nd error charged to Gabby Sanchez, the sophomore, down at third base this year. This Miami team was hit with so many injuries that it was mix and match. They were, some days they were just trying to find enough position players to put on the field. And you add to that something that Jim Morris had to do, suspending his closer and the closer's setup man. And to be able to come in here with a 46-19 record, or 46-11, it's just remarkable what he has been able to do with this ball club. Deep left center field. Barton will chase it down, but this will get a run home, and LSU regains the lead. An RBI for Holt. Liuzza with that heads-up play that you pointed out, getting to third on the low throw.
Well, that allows him to get that run in right there. We talked about J.C. Holt in the beginning. He's the guy that sets the table, and twice now we've seen him drive the ball on the left field line and in left center field.
This one is in the gap in left center. Patterson drilled it. He's trying for second and slides in safely. Runners at second and third. Patterson 2 for 2.
That's definitely a breaking ball that's up in the strike zone. Breaking ball that he's just trying to get over the plate. That's not a time that you just flip one over the plate. You've got to make it a quality pitch, because if it's not a quality pitch, that's what happens to it.
And now Blake Gill, who's already singled, takes one way inside.
Well, this is the time and point where Cesar Carrillo has got to pick it up a little bit. His defense has let him down. He's in a situation where he's got to put it together. This could be a 6-3 ball game in a hurry with a base hit by Blake Gill right here.
He should be out of the inning. The run is unearned. And as you said, his job right now is to make sure they don't get any more unearned runs. Gill takes a high fastball. He was the MVP of the Baton Rouge Regional and has had an outstanding postseason. JT Arteaga looking on, the pitching coach, watching his ace struggle right here. He's already thrown 46 pitches through 1 2/3 innings. Gets a fastball for a called strike, 3-1. He's not being squeezed on that strike zone either.
He's just overthrowing a little bit, and that's why we see the ball high in the strike zone and out of the strike zone.
3-1 to Gill, missed inside, and they're loaded. For John Zarang, who was driven in a run with a sacrifice fly. 47 pitches, 4 runs, 3 of them earned. What's your philosophy? I mean, you've got a kid here who is your stud. He's pitching in the College World Series. How long do you go with him?
Well, I look at this AB as probably the biggest AB of the game thus far. You've got the bases loaded. You've got 2 outs. You've got their number 4 hitter standing at the plate and probably their best hitter standing at the plate. And you've got your man on the mound. This could be a make or break point early in this ball game for Cesar Carrillo.
Zarang came in hitting .387, 12 homers, 55 runs batted in. Got a fastball by him, 0-2.
Now you can see when Carrillo stays back and really tries to concentrate on getting the ball down in the strike zone, that ball gets to the plate and the bottom just drops right out of it. Zarang was on that pitch. That ball just dropped right under the bat.
And he hit him to drive in another run. Ahead 0-2 with a chance to get out of the inning with no more damage, and he plunks it.
You want to try to get the ball inside, but you can see Carrillo fall off towards first base just a little bit. That front shoulder opens up, his hand gets flat, and that ball just runs right back into Zarang and hits him right in the rib cage.
Base is still loaded. Another run home for Stavinaugh, who was a strikeout victim his first time up. And if you're going to win games in Omaha, those are the kind of mistakes I don't think you can make when you have a chance to get out of an inning and you've got a batter in an 0-2 hole.
Especially 0-2.
Exactly.
And the number 4 hitter standing at the plate. That's, you know, you talk about pitching inside, and yes, Mike, you know how much I love pitching inside. But at this point in time, you've got to be able to make a pitch and get yourself out of the inning.
Again, ahead 0-2. How much you want to bet this one won't be inside?
I want to see that nasty slider right here.
5-3 LSU, bases loaded, 2 outs. Missed with a fastball. Set up outside, threw it right to the glove. There's not going to be any give in this kid. He's a fighter. But 54 pitches, and we're only in the 2nd inning. Weakly foul back on the screen. That looked like the slider.
That was the slider right there. Ball started middle away, broke off the plate. That's a very difficult pitch to hit.
Stavinaugh has driven in 42 this year. Excuse me.
Now that you've got him to chase a little bit, you've got him 1-2. This is the time you take that breaking ball and maybe take it outside just a little bit further.
Goes outside with a fastball instead. 2-2. When you were in a situation like this and they're calling for, you know, a pitch on the outside, didn't you want to go ahead and throw your best pitch and try to get out of the inning instead of let the count run higher?
He struck him out with a high breaking ball last time. That tells me this kid can't hit a breaking ball.
Struck him out, bases loaded. Stavinaugh has gone down twice, and a good thing for Carrillo. He has given up 5 runs through 2 innings pitched, and it's 5-3 LSU. These great shots of Rosenblatt Stadium courtesy of the Monster.com cam, as we have a 5-3 game here, and this one of the great facilities in all of amateur sports is Rosenblatt Stadium in Omaha. They do something to improve this facility every year, and I think they're running out of things to do. I mean, it is so good. I don't know how you could make it much better, and that's the Henry Dorley Zoo across the street. So beautifully supported by the people of Omaha and the business community here. They've done such a brilliant job. That's why it stayed here for 55 years. Giannotti will lead it off in the 2nd inning. It's going to take a while to get used to Bumstead's motion. You don't see people do that very often. Cock that thing right behind their ear. Strike called.
That's what makes him effective, because you can't pick up the baseball. He doesn't throw the ball very hard. And when he does throw the ball 88 miles an hour, the ball comes out high.
Swung over the top of that one. I hope that photographer was associated with LSU. Just hoping.
That's the pitch that Bumstead has got to throw right there. That was 73 miles an hour. The bottom just dropped right out of it.
This one in the dirt. 3-2. Weren't you saying this morning a lot of people thought that was a splitter because it had such tremendous action on it?
Well, they think it's a split finger, but it's really not a split finger. It's a circle change, but because of where he holds the baseball and where he releases it, it looks like a split finger.
Just missed on that one on the leadoff walk to Giannotti.
Everything comes out different depending on grip of the baseball and release point of the baseball. And when you throw the ball behind your head like he does, ball comes out funny every time.
Strike called to John Jay, who struck out in the first, hitting .362.
You're back fine. Just like we said, quick.
Haven't seen pitchers throwing to first as much as in past years, and I like that. So many guys have seemed to concentrate on runners, they give up on the batter. That was in the dirt. Good block by Liuza, and the late steal attempt, he's in there. Giannotti took off, and Liuza couldn't get to it quickly enough.
That was great reaction by Liuza right there, just to even make that play close. Ball in the dirt, bounces right in front of him. You can see him hustle right to it, and just a laser throw down to second base.
Made it close, didn't he?
He made it close, and that play normally is not close at all.
So a walk and a wild pitch has a runner at second. That's fouled at the plate off the leg of John Jay. He's down 1-2.
And you see the much different swings from the Miami Hurricanes when Bumstead has the ball down in the strike zone. They're beating it straight into the front of the plate, and that's what he wants. He wants weak ground balls, or to get them out in front and try to hit high fly balls. You pitch up around the belt throwing 84, 85.
He's backing up third base.
Souvenir time.
High outside fastball, 2-2. Jay is at the top of the order. Ricks and Braun would be next. Both have extra base hits. This one's up in the zone and hit into right center. Giannotti held up momentarily to make sure it wasn't caught, but still has plenty of time to score. And an RBI shot from John Jay. Miami closes to within one again.
Where is that pitch? That pitch is up right at chest high. We've said it time and time again. Bumstead has got to be down in the zone to be successful. Every time we've seen a pitch up there, it has gotten absolutely hammered.
Bumstead has already allowed 6 hits. Ricks has one of them, a double, squares to bunt. It's called strike.
The thing about it, Mike, is when you've got an umpire behind home plate that is giving you the outside corner, he's giving you the ball down in the strike zone, you have got to take advantage of it as a pitcher. If you don't, you're crazy.
Just like that.
There it is. Now, if you're getting that strike, I'm not throwing anything else. I'm going to make him hit that ball all night. I'm not going to throw anything. You don't have to throw a curveball or a changeup. Just throw that same pitch.
Jason Detterman is up and working in the LSU bullpen. 0-2. That one comes inside. Well, we've seen that here before. If there's a generous strike zone, a lot of pitchers with good command will sit a foot outside and just throw nothing else.
But that's all you got to do. problem is you've got to recognize it as a pitcher.
You're back easy. Not a way to accelerate.
And then be able to execute.
It takes a little while.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Have good balance.
And we can see San Pedro on the Miami side. He knows where that strike zone is. You can see him slide out, and he'll slide out even further, trying to get even extra generosity.
1-2 to Ricks. That one is chopped and gets through into right field. Jay is on his way to third, and that was a seeing eye base hit if you ever had one. Harris and Nakarada both barely missed it.
Well, Harris was holding on the runner at first base, and he took the wrong angle going after that baseball. If he'd have dropped back towards right field just a little bit, I believe he could have got that ball and flipped it to Bumstead, who was coming to cover first base. But instead of coming at an angle backwards, he came straight towards second base, and he just couldn't get to it.
And this is Ryan Braun, who has already launched in the first inning. That was his 10th home run of the year. And he is thinking right now, what a great time for number 11. Breaking pitch called strike. Sometimes I think we tend to make it sound too easy for these guys. It is not the easiest thing in the world, even if that spot is out there, to be able to consistently hit it. That was a pretty pitch. Let's go to Dave Ryan. David?
Ryan Braun's dad, Joe, is here from Southern California. Joe, your son struggled a little bit last year in the College World Series. First career College World Series home run comes tonight. What's it like for a dad to watch that moment?
It's thrilling. It's exciting. It's a moment that you cherish for the rest of your life, and I'm sure I hope Ryan will too, and I know my wife will. It's really exciting. Really
Has
exciting.
to DH, not play his normal shortstop because of the rib cage injury. How's that prognosis? When will he be back in the field?
Well, I think right now the team's playing really well defensively. I think to make a change right now wouldn't really be beneficial to the team, and Ryan understands that. And just being DH right now, I think is the best way to help the team go.
He's gone a long way in helping the freshman Roger Tomas adjust the shortstop. Is that his leadership skills coming out?
I think it is. I think he's helped them and talked to him, worked them through, and Roger's done a great job with positions here.
Guys go to the Cape League after this, but hopefully for the Miami fans, not for about 10, 11 days.
All right, thank you, David. Hit on the ground to third. Could be two, and it is. 5-4-3 double play will get them out of the inning. And Braun, who homered last time, bounces into a double play to end it.
Tied up. Jay, you sit.
Well, this is exactly what Bumstead wants. Ground balls in the infield. That way his infielders have a chance to turn the ball over, at least get an out somewhere.
Jay scored easily from third, and this ball is ripped down the left field line by Jim Burt. Down into the corner, Patterson comes up. Burt on his way to second, and the head first slide gets him in there. So Burt is 2 for 2.
Well, this right here is just absolute strength. This ball is down in the strike zone, and he goes and gets it.
You really can't say enough good things about Jim Burt. He is the 3-time co-captain on this team. He is an emotional leader. He's a 4.0 student. He passed on the draft last year to come back and play his senior year. Everybody likes him, and he's a terrific player.
For a guy that's already graduated and has come back to start the first year of his master's program.
Barton chops it to short. Gill makes the easy play. Runs galore. Miami ties it again. It's 5-5. We go to the top of the third with LSU and Miami tied at 5. Miami pitching its ace, Cesar Carrillo, and he has been batted around a little bit. 5 runs, 2 of them earned. He's walked a pair. Jeff, what do you see?
Well, a lot of times when you see a young pitcher out there with adrenaline pumping, he really wants to jump to the plate. And tonight we see Cesar Carrillo, every time he really tries to throw the ball hard, he gets out here too far, and his arm doesn't get a chance to get up in the power position so he can drive the ball to the plate. And what happens, the front shoulder leaves and the ball gets away from his head, and he can't control the ball. As long as he stays right here, the ball stays down and through to the plate. You see good sliders and good fastballs, but we've got to see him calm down a little bit. If he doesn't calm down, he's going to have some problems. You can see Carrillo right there as he lets that ball go. He's got to be able to drive the ball to the plate. When he's not driving the ball to the plate, he's in trouble.
And he's been in trouble so far, Jeff. 5 runs in 2 innings. We talked about his first inning problems, but they touched him for a pair in the second inning as well. And Nakarada will lead it off here in the LSU third. Nakarada singled and drove in a run, and he smokes this one foul down the right field side.
Every time that you see Nakarada coming to, not Nakarada, but Carrillo coming to the plate, when you see him driving to the plate and not falling off to the first base side, that's the correct way that you want to see him throw. But when he gets that adrenaline pumping, he starts falling off, and then he's got some problems.
That pitch is high. 3-1 to the leadoff man in the third inning. Skied to left center field. And John Jay waiting on it. 1 gone. There is probably nothing in baseball mechanically that is more important than pitching.
Right. And the reason that it is because you've got to do everything right on the mound before you can locate the ball to the plate. It's very similar to a golf swing. If you move just a little bit in a golf swing, it's going to show up in where the ball goes when you're aiming for the green. And it exponentially shows up when the ball gets to the plate or when the ball gets to the golf green.
Of course, with a golf swing, you can hit it 100 yards offline.
Yeah, into
Here,
the trees.
it might be a foot.
Or it might be in the seats.
That's right. 5-5 here in the third. Liuza, who walked his first time up. First time that Carrillo has gotten the leadoff man in this game.
Well, I think that we're starting to see Carrillo start to relax a little bit. He seems to be working a little bit quicker. And this is not the Carrillo that LSU wants to see right now.
Exactly. But this is the one Miami has seen all year long after the first inning.
See those cheeks? When those cheeks start blowing, he starts blowing.
And he just blew Liuza away. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN features 2 teams that were once crosstown rivals. The Yankees complete their 3-game weekend series with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Coverage begins with baseball tonight on the road, driven by GMC at 7 Eastern. Also available in Spanish on ESPN Deportes and in high definition on ESPN HD. I didn't realize until that series came up that they had not played each other in so long. That's amazing.
It is amazing. I was talking about the Dodgers going into Fenway, and I thought, I don't think I've ever heard of that.
That's right. With 2 out, Clay Harris
No, he didn't.
did not go around. Harris a strikeout victim his first time up.
Even though that breaking ball was a ball right there, that was a much better pitch than we've seen from Carrillo on his breaking ball all night long.
This one fouled at the plate by Harris.
Somebody has gotten to Carrillo in the dugout and said, hey, get the ball away, rear back and let it fly. Use the outside corner. I don't want to see any more pitches inside trying to knock people down. Let's get the ball away and make them swing the bat.
I think it was J.D. Arteaga.
I think it might be.
It was. Popped up on the infield. And the first 1-2-3 inning for Arteaga. Or excuse me, for Carrillo. And we'll go to the bottom of the third. It's 5-5 at the College World Series.
Heading into the bottom of the third, Rosenblatt Stadium in Omaha, Nebraska is tied 5-5. Third-year head coach at LSU, Smoke Laval. You've been around the ropes and seen some slugfest. Cesar Surreal having some troubles for Miami. You'd expect to get into him so early tonight.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're going to swing the bats here. The problem is we got to find a way to keep them off the base paths, and you know, when they get a few good swings at us here, I don't like that. We're okay offensively right now. You know, good things will happen, but we got to slow this thing down and keep it close again and play it maybe a 2-inning ball game.
You told us this morning, Smoke, how important your businesslike approach was compared to last year where the guys didn't get bothered by the big crowds, the distraction, the big lights. Have they handled it so far pretty well, do you think?
Well, yeah, so far so good here, but you know, we got to see what happens. A lot of game left.
What sort of things do you tell your team as we get toward the middle innings about strategy, the way things are lining up now? You know your team so well.
Just do what we can do. You know, control the controllables. Don't panic. A lot of game left. Remember, it's tie, so they're in the same boat we are.
Good luck.
You gotta like him, don't you?
Oh, he's great. I love just listening to his stories. He was actually the third base coach at LSU when I was at Mississippi State many moons ago.
Eric San Pedro will lead it off for Miami. They have already wrapped out 8 hits against Nate Bumstead. High and tight, and it's 3-0 to San Pedro. You got a pretty good idea of the strike zone pretty quickly. It's about belt high and generous on each side of the plate.
Well, the strike zone has been consistent all night long. Now, I don't know that either Bumstead or Carrillo have been consistent, but the strike zone has been consistent all night long. If you catch that outside corner or just a little bit of that black, you're getting a strike. The ball that's down in the strike zone, you're going to get a strike. The ball that's up, you're not.
And that's all you really need.
That's
a
what
consistent,
you want.
strike zone.
You're exactly right, Mike. If I'm out there and I'm the one that's pitching, I want to know where the strike zone is. I don't care if it's a cracker box. At least let me know it's a cracker box. But if it's a wide strike zone and it's down, believe me, I'm going to be trying to hit that all night.
We've got a pitching change, and Jason Detterman, the left-hander, will be coming in for LSU, and Bumstead walks the leadoff man in the third, and Nate is done. The young man with a 10-3 record this year gets a nice hand as he leaves. We'll check out the new pitcher when we come back. Bottom of the third in Omaha, we've had a pitching change with Miami and LSU tied at 5. Bumstead is done with 2+ innings and 5 earned runs allowed, and the new pitcher is Jason Detterman.
Detterman came in last year in the College World Series and pitched very well, threw a lot of strikes, so this is not an unfamiliar territory for him. He came in and actually pitched, I believe, about 5 innings, so I know that this kid can come in and at least keep the ball game close. He's left-handed. He likes to keep the ball down, and you can see Miami and their coaches over there talking about what Detterman is going to do, what he's going to try to do, what he has, what he's done in the past. Computers are a beautiful thing.
Yeah, tough night for Bumstead. And the first batter he'll face is Gabby Sanchez, who singled back in the first inning and drove in a run. Has his season's average up to 317. Swing and a miss on a good fastball.
And that's what you're going to see from Detterman right there. He's going to throw his fastball away from these right-handers, try to keep it down and away. If he starts to see him lean out over the plate, he's going to drop a breaking ball down and in, trying to get the ball underneath their hands.
1 on, nobody out in the third, and that one's cued off the end of the bat. 0-2. Strike 3.
It's amazing. It's amazing, Mike, watching guys come in that have been in the College World Series. They're not intimidated by the crowd. They're not intimidated by the opposition. Comes in, strike 1, strike 2, strike 3. That's what you want to have, especially when you're coming in out of the bullpen and you've got a ball game that's tied this early with 5 runs on both sides of the board.
Detterman won game 1 of the Super Regional in relief as they beat Florida. Or they beat Texas A&M, excuse me, a team they were not expecting to meet. This one skied to left, and Patterson in a few steps makes the catch for the second out. They expected to meet Rice, the defending national champions in that region. Rice was knocked out. They faced Texas A&M. 6 innings, 2 earned runs to beat the Aggies.
In relief. How about that? He may have to do that tonight.
Well, 6 innings would be about perfect if he can do that. 2 out, a man on for Giannotti.
But you can see where Detterman is working the count. He's trying to keep the ball away from these right-handed hitters. And regardless of how strong that you are, it's very difficult to get out there and try to lift that pitch and drive it out of left field. You just pop it straight up, just like we just saw on that last pitch.
And in contrast to some past College World Series, we have seen very few long balls. The wind, of course, has not been favorable. But it's not like the old days when LSU would come out here and hit about a dozen of them a day. And they were all monster shots. I mean, nothing crept over the left field wall.
I tell you what, Mike, it does my heart good watching a young kid come in and challenging the hitters, saying, I know I've got good stuff. Let's see what you've got.
Well, he's shown it so far. Retired the first 2 he's faced. This one's looped down the right field line, twisting and diving catch by Zarang. What a play! John Zarang just laid out and made the catch in foul territory. A pitcher's best friend.
Oh, man, what a play. Sacrifice the body, baby.
Put a star by that one as Zarang makes a brilliant running catch to end the inning. And that may have been a fair ball if he doesn't make that grab. Defense by LSU. We're still tied at 5. LSU and Miami 5-5 as we go to the top of the 4th in the College World Series. Let's check in with Dave Ryan. David.
All right, a couple national championships, 9 College World Series appearances for this guy, Jim Morris, head coach at Miami. Cesar Surreal, little struggles. We just talked about that, Jim, a moment ago. Are you surprised he's had troubles in this game so far?
Well, I am a little surprised. I mean, he struggled in the first inning a couple of times, but he got it going after that. And but if we'd have made a play for him in the second inning, they would have got no runs. We just got to play better defense, him get ahead of the hitters.
Despite 5 runs, 5 hits given up for Cesar, no one in the pen. Is that just a lot of confidence in your freshman?
I think that just shows a lot of confidence in our guy. He's got it done. He's come back like this before. We just got to keep, battling at the plate.
So be honest with us, what's it like now? You're against LSU for the first time since that national championship game in '96. How does it feel? A little revenge on your mind?
Well, not really. That's the furthest thing from my mind, to be honest. Right now, my mind is to play defense and pitch.
Good luck, Jim.
Thanks.
David, he'll think about revenge later. Right now, he just wants to win this ball game. And there is Zarang, who was the defensive hero to end that last inning with a great diving catch down the right field line. You look out right now at Carrillo, and he's got that look. Right on the corner for a called strike. And Will Harris reached on an error his first time up and eventually scored one of the 5 runs. Another fastball at the knees. Found a groove, I think.
Tell you what, when he can throw the ball down there and you're getting that called consistently, why throw it anywhere else? You can't hit that ball.
Waste pitch outside, and of course he's really working a lot faster than he was, but that goes hand in hand. When you're not getting the ball over, you tend to work more slowly anyway. But this is pitch and catch. Right to the shortstop, Tomas. Well, defense rearing its ugly head in a slugfest. Boys, Miami always had good shortstops.
You got to be some kind of quick on your feet to make this play right here. That's outstanding.
Tomas, the young freshman, only 5 errors all year long. After Ryan Braun was injured, could no longer play shortstop, and they put Tomas in there. And Jim Morris said that even though Braun is now healthy, he didn't want to make a change. I mean, they've been hot at the end of the season, and why make a change? Don't mess with it if it's good.
Well, down there where I live at, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right now, it ain't broke. Back to the top of the order for Holt, who has a double and a sacrifice fly on his ball game.
Well, it seems to me that Carrillo has really started to settle down a little bit. Seems like he's getting the ball down in the strike zone. He's a lot more consistent around the plate.
The first 4 men in the LSU batting order. 4 RBIs, 3 runs, 4 for 4. Can't ask for anything else.
Well, that's what we talked about when we came on the air.
Base on balls, runner at first, 1 gone.
J.C. Holt, Blake Gill, and John Zarang. They are the keys to the offense for these LSU Tigers. If they're not hitting, you can forget about it.
And Patterson with 2 hits. His first 2 trips, a single and a double, hitting .345. Second team all SEC, and they were very disappointed that he was not drafted this year. Came as a big surprise. There's always 3 or 4 guys out here, Jeff, that have the numbers, that seem to have all the skills, and they're not drafted. Everybody's just stunned by it.
Well, last year Landon Powell was not drafted and was probably, if not the best catcher in the country, one of the top 2. You never know why that is. It could be signability. I mean, there are a lot of things that go into the reason that you're drafted or not drafted.
Because they talk to these kids and their parents in advance, and some of them, according to the major league clubs, may want too much money for what they think their value is.
You know, at this point in time, how do you make a determination as to what it's too much money the way they're throwing it out these days?
Good pitch, got him swinging.
Now that's the changeup that Carrillo learned last year while sitting on the sideline and just working on different pitches. Didn't get to pitch in 1 game, but that changeup right there was pretty nice. Good arm speed.
Foul back. Count rides at 0-2. 1 on 1 out. We're in the LSU 4th and a 5-5 ball game.
Mike, when you can throw a changeup like that with that type of arm speed and you come back with a fastball, that fastball looks like it's shot out of a bazooka. Slider time. Oh, how he
1 and 2 to Ryan Patterson with Blake Gill on deck. Two and 2.
Now you can see now when Carrillo goes inside, he's not falling to the first base side and the ball is sinking on the inside corner. That's what you want. You don't want the ball running off and up and into the hitter unless it's on purpose.
And speaking of running, J.C. Holt at first is the only guy you would expect to go for LSU. He has 20 steals and 22 attempts. Got him to chase a high fastball and struck him out. 2 gone in the 4th.
Well, that shows you the intelligence of Eric San Pedro. On the pitch before, he set up almost like the old-time catcher with the ball up in the strike zone. This time he gets the ball a little bit closer to the plate, gets the strikeout on Ryan Patterson.
First time they have retired one of the first 4 men in the order.
Well, you're starting to see Carrillo move the ball around a little bit with a lot more confidence than he had early.
Blake Gill pops this one up on the infield, and San Pedro, the catcher, called off by Jim Burt, and the first baseman will make the grab. So 1 walk, but that's all for Carrillo here in the fourth. He is obviously settling in for the Hurricanes.
Damn it, he take time.
Back home in Omaha. Back home in Omaha.
Always a pleasure for us to come back to the College World Series in Omaha and welcome you back as well. And to the top of the order for John Jay, facing Jason Detterman, who is on for his second inning of work. This is the Hurricanes' 21st College World Series trip. They've had 4 national championships, 2 under Ron Frazier in '82 and '85. Jim Morris has won a pair in '99 and 2001. The beat just goes on for the Hurricanes. Back up the middle. Nakarada, the second baseman, throws him out. 1 gone here in the fourth. That may have been tipped by Detterman.
Don't stick your hand out there, young man. There's guys behind you that are paid to catch. Well, actually not paid to catch it in this.
That's right. That's right.
Not
good,
that I know of.
Good correction. Good correction. You see guys do that all the time at any level. They just, it's an instinctive reaction.
I'm not putting my hand out there.
Well, Harold wasn't one to take one for the team either, and I don't blame either one of them.
Ball hurts.
Yes, it does. Adam Ricks, who is 2 for 2, 1 out, nobody on in the Miami fourth.
You can see the confidence in Detterman. He gets the ball, even though it's 2-0. He gets the ball. He's ready to go. He knows what he wants to throw. Working quick.
We talked about that top of the order for LSU. Miami has done the same thing. The top 4 hitters have been tough in this ball game. 6 out of 9, 3 RBIs. They've scored 4 of the 5 runs. And of course, that's what you're looking for. That's why those guys are 1 through 4 to start with.
Well, Zarang and Gill and Holder, what makes that LSU club run. Oh, I got to have that one, Mike.
Well, he's established the strike zone pretty well. Anything above the belt, he's not going to give you.
I need to keep my mouth shut.
Well, the pitcher's going to come out in you. That's the way it is.
I'll take that one.
You get that one. 3-2 to Adam Ricks, whose power number's way up this year with 10 home runs. Pops this one straight back foul.
Well, I think Liuza wanted that ball inside, but he was just a little bit late setting up, and where he made the call is actually where Detterman threw the baseball. I kind of like my catcher setting up just a little bit sooner than Liuza did right there.
Strike call. Check in with Dave Ryan. David?
We're with Jim Capel, senior writer for ESPN.com. Special guest. This is the 200th anniversary of the Lewis and Clark expedition all the way to the West Coast from around the St. Louis area, and you're taking a long trip. How'd that all get started?
Well, I've done these trips before for ESPN.com, where I make a long journey and write about the sports along the way. 2 years ago, I did I-90 from Safeco Field in Seattle to Fenway Park in Boston. And then last year I did the entire Mississippi from the headwaters down to New Orleans. And this one just seemed like a natural. I grew up on the Lewis and Clark Trail, and it's the 200th anniversary, and they passed by just beyond the outfield fence here.
Missouri River, not far from where we are here at Rosenblatt Stadium. So you started in St. Louis at Busch Stadium. You'll have several venues along this 3,000-mile journey. How does Rosenblatt Stadium and the College World Series atmosphere match up to Busch and the majors?
Well, at Bush, I was a vendor. I sold Coke in the stands for an entire game, and then tried to keep up with a 59-year-old beer vendor. And trust me, I couldn't keep up with him. No, he was moving.
Jim, thanks for your time. Good luck on the big trip. It is a 5-5 game. College World Series, LSU and Miami. More coming up.
Twisting and diving catch by Sarang. What a play! And Sarang will lead it off here in the 5th. John with a sacrifice fly and hit by a pitch. And after an explosion of runs in the first 2 innings, the pitching has improved remarkably, and we're still tied at 5. Oh, and right now, Carrillo is throwing nothing but BBs.
Well, we heard Jim Morris talking about him really believing that he would get better as time went on, but he didn't think that it would take him 2 or 3 innings to get better.
Hit down to third. Sanchez throws across, 1 gone. Now Stavinaugh, who has been a strikeout victim twice. Breaking pitch misses outside. Low for ball 2. Dan Touche with some action in the Miami bullpen.
If you're going to miss with your breaking ball, that's exactly where you want to miss.
Chop towards short. Tomas, nice play. 2 gone. Always had shortstops at Miami that could pick it. Stavinaugh 0 for 3.
2-0 pitch. He gets the ball in on him just a little bit. He gloved it and got it to his hand in perfect timing enough to make. That's a perfect throw to first base.
Yes,
on the
it
run.
was. 2 out, nobody on for Nakarada, who was 1 for 2. And Carrillo right now looks like the pitcher who was 11-0 this year. Has not allowed a base hit since the 2nd inning. And he's got that Clint Eastwood glare going for him.
Well, like I said before, when you start seeing those cheeks moving, when he starts blowing air out of his mouth, he's coming on with it.
Just missed with a fastball. 3-1. 57 pitches, 5 scored. Since then, 41 and nothing. Strike called, 3-2. And even when he is missed, he's looking a lot better, and
well,
the pitches have a purpose.
He's missing close around the plate, and that's what you've got to do. That makes hitters think that, well, we better start swinging because he's missing close.
Just missed with a breaking ball, lost him on a walk. That was the 100th pitch of the ball game for Korea.
If you'll watch Eric San Pedro, the reason they're getting a lot of strikes that look like they're a little bit out of the strike zone is when he sets up on the outside corner, he's got the heel of his glove on the outside corner. The ball is actually coming into the web of the glove, which is off the plate. The ball is off the plate, but yet from the umpire's view looking over his shoulder, that's a strike, and that's why he's getting strikes.
It's a great point. Straight away to right, and Giannotti is there for the 3rd out of the inning. The teams, the coaches, everybody associated with these ball clubs have been so good to us, allowing us to follow them all over Omaha. And this piece is just part of our Miami all-access pass.
The Hurricanes are going to the College World Series for the 21st time. Going back, baby.
We're not going back to Omaha this time to finish 5th like we did last year. Remember that and get that in your mind. We're going out to get it done. Our ring's getting a little rusty.
Finish.
Miami's definitely one of the perennial powers.
A right-hander, but that's what I expected.
El otro año en off, queríamos ir a Omaha.
Throw a strike. Throw a strike. Good job. Hit it hard. That'll work right there.
You're getting ready for the trip to Omaha. It's very important for your hair to look just right. You definitely have the best hair in college baseball, hands down. Whether we win the World Series or not, we have the best hair in college baseball.
Nike cookies. Nike cookies. We had spaghetti and a bus, and we had a big problem. But with our new strength coach, Jimmy Goings, we're going to look like this.
My everything, and for you, so I sing all my life.
They're not having a real good time or anything. USC with the overall lead in championships won with a dozen. Texas, LSU, Arizona State, and Miami right there for second place. And USC for so long just dominated this event.
There's always guys that are teams that have freshman hazing, even in the big leagues. And I remember last year coming to the World Series, watching these guys in the airport. They had all of their freshmen out in the runway of the airport singing songs to every girl that walked down the runway, and all of the older classmen were just laying on the ground laughing so hard. Freshman hazing at its finest.
Jim Burt will lead it off here in the 5th. He's 2 for 2, now hitting .379 over the top of a fastball, and Detterman has been very impressive since he's come in the game, just as you had predicted.
There's something to be said about coming into the ball game, throwing strikes, and working quick.
He's retired all 6 that he has faced so far, and now has Burt in a hole 1 and 2. 4, 5, and 6 men scheduled to bat here in the 5th for the Hurricanes.
You can pretty much see Detterman when he misses, it's down in the strike zone or it's off the plate and it doesn't get in place where he gets hurt with it.
Strike called, and Burt spins around. He did not like the call. 1 gone.
Well, the reason that he didn't like the call was the way that Detterman set that up. 2 fastballs away, a breaking ball down in the dirt, and then that pitch was right on the inside corner. It does get frustrating for hitters because you're looking away, and then boom, right on the inside corner. You can't pull the trigger, you can't hit it, you can't do anything, so you just throw your helmet.
He's had 3 called strikes, and Detterman quickly off the mound, scoops, throws, got it. Barton tries to bunt for a base hit, and Detterman got there, and even after the bobble, shoveled it on to first base, and Will Harris on the bag.
Well, a lot of times right-handed batters think that left-handers fall off the mound towards that third base side. Detterman does not do that, and he makes a great recovery on this ball right here, even after the bobble.
And Will Harris came up limping after that play because he was nipped by the runner. And you're very vulnerable when you're stretched out in that position. Seen guys blow out Achilles by being hit that way.
Well, I think that what Jim Morris was saying at that point is he never got to the bag, but he did. He was right on the bag. That's why he got stepped on.
And Barton got the worst of it as he went down hard. He's all right. 2 out, nobody on for San Pedro.
Morris got so frustrated he went in the dugout and forgot his team was hitting.
This one is hit into right center field, and it will reach the wall. San Pedro is on his way to second with a stand-up double, and Zarang had to dig it off the track. So somebody finally hit something hard off of Jason Detterman.
San Pedro is at his best when he's looking for the ball and driving the ball away. This ball is up in the strike zone. You get that ball up like that, especially for a guy that wants to drive the ball the other way. It's right in his wheelhouse.
Gabby Sanchez 1 for 2, a runner in scoring position, 2 out in the 5th. Called strike.
See, that shows you the maturity of Detterman. This is not a senior kid, but yet after a double in the gap, he comes right back with the same pitch he's been using all night. Fastball right on the outside corner, knee high.
And this game has really had a split personality. It was a slugfest for 2 innings, 10 runs combined, and since then it's been a pitcher's duel.
You say slugfest, I say nightmare. 10 runs in 2 innings. Oh.
Well, you have a different perspective too. I was never allowed to stay in a game long enough to give out that many runs.
If I've got 10 runs in the first 2 innings, I'm gonna have a coronary. Whether I'm the pitching coach or the pitcher, it doesn't matter.
1-1 to Sanchez. Gabby is 1 for 2, a single and a strikeout. Detterman just missed with a fastball outside, 2-1. Pitchers, most of them at least, pretty smart too. If they get a pitch 3 inches off the plate, the next one's 4 inches. If they get that one, it's a half a foot.
I really believe that Detterman is going to be one of the guys that's in the rotation for LSU next year.
Beautiful pitch there, 2-2.
Simply because he's got command of a fastball. He's got a changeup that he can use on the outside part of the plate. He can paralyze right-handers on the inside corner, and he's got a great curveball that he bounces right in front of the plate. And probably more so than anything else, this kid is not scared of anybody.
Obviously not. 2-2. Spoiled.
That's what happens right there. Now that ball was probably about 3 inches off the ground, but when you're consistently locating the ball away and you're getting strikes on the outside part of the plate, whether it's changeup or fastball, you're going to get crummy swings like that. Now he can just take a fastball and throw it right on the inside corner, and he's got no chance.
Outside corner lofted to shallow center. Holt can't get there. A bloop single will drive in the go-ahead run.
Maybe he should have gone inside.
Well, you want to talk about pitchers being upset. Is a ball that wouldn't raise a lump if it hits you in the forehead and it drives in a run. 6-5 Miami right off the end of the bat and just dumped into center field. And even the great speed of J.C. Holt is not going to get him there for that one. Now they've got him trapped. And the inning is over. Sanchez caught off the bag, but the damage has been done. And Miami has a 6-5 lead over LSU. When we come back, a look at one of the top 25 moments in our 25 years at the College World Series in Omaha. ESPN celebrates its 25th year at the College World Series with another great moment. Last season, it was the storyline weaved by the Rice Owls. Exciting finishes, outstanding pitching, and the boundless energies of head coach Wayne Graham were the headlines. In the final game of the championship series, Rice starter Philip Umber went the route in a 14-2 romp over Stanford. With a school of an enrollment of just over 2,800, the 2003 NCAA baseball championship was their first title in any sport. And there are moments 16 through 20. Barry Bonds, 8 straight hits in 1984. Yikes. Let's go back to the end of the last half inning because there was some interesting action on that pickoff play.
Well, Gabby Sanchez looked like he put an elbow somewhere around the forehead of shortstop Blake Gill. You can see that elbow fly up, and Blake Gill is not happy at all. And in college baseball, if someone has the ball, you cannot put an elbow, you cannot do anything to try to dislodge the baseball, or not only are you out, you're out of the game. And we saw that earlier with Georgia when they tried to run over the catcher. They threw him right out of the ball game.
Fortunately, the elbow missed. Strike called as we are in the LSU 6th, and they are trailing for the first time. Clay Harris, Will Harris, and J.C. Holt. Skip Bertman, the legendary baseball coach at LSU, and now the athletic director at a powerhouse SEC school. That could have never happened 20 years ago. Absolutely never happened. And there were people who said it couldn't have happened now, but that's the respect that Skip Bertman earned throughout his brilliant career.
Well, you've got to wonder, Skip, watching this ball game, he started his career at Miami under Ron Frazier, then moved to LSU and created an absolute powerhouse down there in Baton Rouge.
Harris with a line drive to left, but right at John Jay, 1 out. Sunday, it's a doubleheader for you from Omaha on ESPN HD and ESPN2. First at 2 o'clock Eastern, Arizona against Arkansas in an elimination game. That's available on ESPN HD. The big picture in sports action continues on ESPN2 at 7 Eastern with yesterday's winners, the Georgia Bulldogs, and the top-seeded Texas Longhorns. That one's lofted down the right field line into foul territory and caught by Richard Giannotti. 2 gone. So 2 quickly out against Carrillo, and with his pitch count mounting, that's exactly what he wants and the Miami pitching staff wants. Quick innings, few pitches, let them hang around a little longer.
When you're throwing strikes, especially first pitch strikes, you get a team behind like LSU is now, they're going to be swinging the bats.
5 pitches in this inning, 106 for the game. Holt has walked, had a sacrifice fly and a double, and has his average up to a crisp 392. We're in the LSU 6th, Miami on top, 6-5. Fastball fouled back. Boy, Carrillo just playing catch with San Pedro. And just in case, Touche is up again in the Miami bullpen. Nasty breaking pitch, stays down low.
I really like watching San Pedro catch behind the plate. He tells the pitcher exactly where he wants the pitch. He's communicating, even though it's nonverbal communication. Dirt, in, out.
Cued off the end of the bat. And a nice job by Gabby Sanchez just to get there. Really didn't have a plug.
Sanchez should have let that ball go because of the ball was hit right on the inside part of the bat, And if you'll watch the spin, as soon as the ball hits the ground, it bounces towards the third baseline. You've got to be aware enough of where the ball is and where the line is to be able to let. You see that ball bounce right there. That ball's going foul. There's no way you're going to make that play at first base. You've got to let that ball go.
That'll get Patterson to the plate. Runner at first and 2 out. Check throw to first. Patterson's had a good night, 2 for 3, struck out his last time up. A ball and no strikes to the number 2 man in the order, Mark and Gail Patterson, enjoying their son's exploits here in Omaha. It was tough for LSU coming here last year. They had such a young club, no veterans, and the expectations were so high, as they always are at LSU.
It doesn't matter if you field an all-freshman team and an all-freshman pitching staff. The LSU faithful, they plan on you winning the College World Series.
Yes, they did. And if preferably undefeated.
Exactly.
And then, just like the Texas folks told us, you win the championship, and the first question is, what do you think about next year?
Exactly. Who you got coming back? Who are you recruiting?
Going to be good. And Skip Bertman, of course, used to that pressure with his long tenure as the head baseball coach. And boy, he brought some real bruisers out here. But like most great coaches, when the game started to change, he changed the makeup of his ball clubs. He won with pitching and defense. He won with big-time offense. Whatever was needed, he found it. That one's hammered out of play.
The biggest thing that Skip Bertman, I believe, brought to the program at LSU was, number 1, discipline, and number 2, tremendous encouragement for the players that were on the team. And I think when you combine those two, you're going to get guys that are going to play for you. They're going to lay down on the line for you every single day to try to win ball games.
Of course, if they had not had a guy like Rod Dado, who won so many championships at USC, these are the kind of things that wouldn't have happened. I mean, this is the guy that, and he has been a fixture here at Omaha, the guy that won those dozen national championships, had great players like Freddie Lynn, just one after the other. And Rod, always such a great gentleman and such a tremendous storyteller. And a nasty pitch for a strikeout to end the inning. It is 6-5 Miami over LSU. Miami on top, 6-5 over LSU as we go to the bottom of the 6th. How about something more than a tie on Father's Day? How about ESPN HD? This is the perspective you get with high definition television, 16:9. If you have the normal television set that a lot of people have, this is what you're missing, everything outside those red lines. Now, on my set at home, I actually drew those red lines in just to remind me how much I was missing on most of those games. HD this weekend, 2:30 tomorrow. You see more of the College World Series, then catch the Dodgers and the Yankees, followed by SportsCenter in high definition. And believe me, once you've seen HD, you will never go back. All sponsored by Phillips and Best Buy. It is the biggest change in television since they came out with color from black and white. It is just a magnificent picture.
So I take it you drew that in with a permanent marker, right?
Unfortunately, I didn't use crayon. I did use a permanent marker, and I'm going to have it for the rest of my life till I can afford another set. I'm not too bright, but I got the line straight.
You know what you're missing.
That's right. Tomas, the freshman shortstop, will lead it off here in the 6th against Detterman, who has been extremely sharp since he came in. He has fallen behind here, 3-0. And missed with a fastball. Walked him on 4 pitches. This is what we're able to see courtesy of the monster.com cam, and you see full stands at Rosenblatt Stadium, this tremendous facility for the College World Series, which is also the AAA ballpark for the Omaha Royals, and they've got to be happy about that.
Now that big blue press box that you see up there, that wasn't here in 1985 when I played.
No, it wasn't.
Here.
It was about the size of a closet until 5 years ago, and now it's the best press box on the face of the earth.
They didn't even have air conditioning. Now that's a press box.
Magnificent. Fastball high as Giannotti squares to sacrifice. And Detterman has thrown 5 in a row outside of the strike zone.
Now, if I'm Smoke Laval right now, I am sending my pitching coach out to the mound. Settle down Detterman a little bit. He's thrown a lot of balls in a row. I want him calm.
Giannotti looking to sacrifice again. There's a called strike. What did you think when you were on the mound? They sent out a pitching coach, or they told the catchers?
I don't want to even talk to him. I figured I knew what I was doing.
Giannotti has 4 sacrifice bunts to his credit this year.
There were certain times, though, Mike, that I wanted the pitching coach to come out. If I knew I was really leaking towards the plate, or if I was jumping towards the plate, I'd love to have him come out.
That one is way out of the strike zone, 2-1.
But if I had 2 strikes on a batter, or I had things that were going smoothly and everything was going great, what are you doing? Yeah, get out of here. Come on, I got this under control.
Did you use that accent?
No, no. I use some different words.
Covered those up.
We can't use that even if we are on cable.
That's right. 2-1 Giannotti. Gets the bunt down the right side, and it's a good one. Giannotti moves the runner over. Tomas into second base. Let's go to Dave Ryan. David?
Mike, earlier this season, Ryder Tomas started having trouble sleeping. Noticed a significant weight loss, and after getting some tests run, it was discovered he had Crohn's disease, a viral infection that affects internal organs. He tells us it was very painful. Some days he takes up to 14 pills to control the problem, along with diet management. Through it all, lost almost 10 pounds. He's missed only a couple of workouts, and due to dizziness, was taken out of just 1 game. His coaches tell us in the weight room, Roger insists on normal reps and the normal weight. He doesn't like anyone asking him, "Are you all right?" Pretty tough kid, Mike.
Great heart. Really a great heart to be faced with something that's that serious. And he's doing a lot better as he's gotten used to the medication, and the doctors have found the right level of that medication.
Jim Morris said he didn't ask him anymore. He got mad. He got mad at him.
I'm fine.
I'm fine. Leave me alone. Just let me pick it at shortstop.
Back to the top of the order for John Jay, and we have seen how well Tomas picks it at shortstop tonight. Couldn't get around on a fastball. 0-2. Jay has 1 hit and 3 trips tonight.
Regardless of the outcome of this game, this young man Detterman has pitched like a champ.
Yes, he has. Bumstead simply didn't have it in 2+ innings, gave up 8 hits and 5 runs. Miami's done very well with runners in scoring position tonight. 4 for 7. And driven in all 5 runs in those situations. You can't ask for much more than that.
That's pretty good.
1-2 to John Jay. Breaking ball foul back over the stand.
If you'll watch John Jay, he's got a little bit of a hitch in his swing right before Detterman delivers the pitch. If I'm pitching and I see somebody drop their hands that far, you can forget about throwing a breaking ball. I'm throwing you that number 1 right by you. It's going to be inside, and it's going to have something on it.
And there it was, a little too far
inside. Breaking ball for show, fastball in for dough.
Listen, it's hard enough to hit without you guys picking up all the clues.
That's how I made my living.
To left and pretty well hit, but Patterson ball back to the track, got turned around and lost the ball. Gonna wave the runner. Here comes the relay, and they won't have a chance at the plate. Patterson got spun around, went all the way back to the wall. And Miami has its 7th run.
Just got finished saying If the guy's got a hitch, you've got to throw the ball with some velocity on it. That pitch right there is a hanging breaking ball up in the strike zone, and he pounds it. He almost hit that ball out of the ballpark the other way.
And once Patterson spun the wrong way, he was in trouble.
The one thing that you've got to remember, a right-hander hitting the ball down the right field line, the ball is going to chase that right field line, and it's the same thing as a left-hander hitting the ball down the left field line. The ball is going to fade away from you. If you turn towards center field, it's going to turn into a circus.
And it turned into a triple, the first of the year for John Jay, and an RBI triple at that. And 7-5 Miami, and on the slide into third, he did some damage to the bag, and they have managed to repair that.
Oh, let's go. Never know, never know.
Now Adam Ricks, who is 2 for 3. A runner at third, 1 out. And that's just outside for ball 1. The infield comes in. And if you believe the statisticians, that makes Ricks about a .440 hitter. Foul back out of play. What was the key for you as a pitcher when you had the infield in? Did you try to pitch differently?
What I really tried to do when I had a guy at third base, even with the infield in, I did not try to go for a ground ball because I was not a ground ball pitcher. What I tried to do was get the hitter to lean out over the plate and then throw a fastball up and in and get him to pop it up.
Safety squeeze, and he didn't get the bunt down.
But that's part of what every pitcher's got to know. You've got to know your strength. If you're not a ground ball pitcher, what are you doing trying to get a ground ball? It's kind of like going through the scouting report and they say, well, this guy can't hit a curveball. Well, I ain't got one.
1-2 to Ricks. Off the fist, back on the screen. It's interesting when guys have different philosophies. We've heard pitching coaches say, we want to pitch to their weaknesses. You hear other guys saying, we're going to pitch to our strengths. And it is just a matter of philosophy.
It is a matter of philosophy, but it's also a matter of the hitter that's standing at the plate. If he's got a hole in a certain spot, you don't want to go to that hole until you have to. You want to pitch around that hole and make him think that he's doing well.
Fouled out of play again as Ricks is getting his cuts up there on a 1-2 count. And the one thing Detterman would like right now more than anything is a strikeout, so the infield can go back to its normal depth.
Well, as it stands right now, the only place that he's going to get a strikeout is a fastball down and in. He's worked away, he's worked changeup away. The only place he's going to get it is a down and in and get the call.
Misses outside 2-2.
Now that's another changeup right there. He's trying to get him to lean out over the plate. He's got him set up for that fastball down and in, but he's got to get it in there. But a lot of times with a runner at third base, you don't want to leave anything out over the plate.
Deep left to the track. Gone. He got that one out over the plate. And Adam Ricks has his 11th home run of the year. A 2-run shot that makes it 9-5. And that is the value of a hitter like Ricks, who fouled off pitch after pitch after pitch until he got one he could drive. Where Patterson gave it everything he had, and it wasn't far over that outstretched glove. Is there any lonelier feeling for a pitcher?
Detterman knows immediately that that ball is hit and hit hard.
And now Ryan Braun, who has a homer to his credit tonight, and Miami has expanded its lead to 4.
But you know, the thing about it, Mike, is every single one of those pitches that he threw, fastball, changeup, curveball, high fastball, they were all away.
Pulled the string on that one. Miami, of its 12 hits tonight, 6 have gone for extra bases. 3 doubles, a triple, and 2 homers.
If you continue to pitch away, you never have an opportunity to tie up the hitter. He's continuing to extend, and he extended all over that pitch.
And no matter what your style of pitching, we have seen a dramatic change in college baseball in the last couple of years with guys insisting on coming inside, and it's made them better pitchers. Struck him out. They'll have to throw him out. 2 gone. Here's a look at that monster shot brought to you by Monster.com. That went 380, and that's about as far as he hit it, needed to hit it to get it out of here. Miami feeling a lot better about itself than it did in the first inning. Chopped on the ground to Harris, throws across, but 3 runs score in the inning. We have played 6 full, and the Hurricanes have taken a 9-5 lead over LSU. Back to the College World Series in a moment.
Coca-Cola brings you Championship Expressions.
We don't have to tell you how much this means. Just watch.
Tell you what.
Coca-Cola brings you Championship Expressions. Coca-Cola, real.
These guys may not be getting paid for playing this game, but I can guarantee you the emotions are just the same.
And that is one of the great joys that I have had coming out here is, a lot of these guys will never make a living playing baseball. They will go on to, regular careers, their academic pursuits. But when they're out here, boy, they're going to lay it out for you. They're going to give it everything they possibly have. Hits a straightaway center. Barton short of the track and makes the catch, 1 out.
Well, I will tell you this, Mike, I'm not ashamed to say that, yes, I did cry on this field. When you leave here and you're a senior and it's the last time that you ever get to play, and you don't know if you're going to get to play after that, and this is the last thing that you got. You've been wanting to play in the College World Series since you were 10 years old, and you finally get that opportunity and you don't win, it's over.
Well, I don't blame you a bit. I mean, if I'd have been able to get here, I'd have cried just seeing the city limit sign of Omaha. I'd have burst into a good one by then. John Zarang bounces to third. Low throw and a nice pick by Jim Burton. Let's go to Dave Ryan. David?
Well, Mike, speaking of emotion, a big theme of tonight's game, the first baseball matchup, LSU-Miami, since that Warren Morris game in '96. LSU assistant Turtle Thomas was in the same first base dugout. Now he's coaching first. That day back in '96 as a Miami assistant back then. Turtle says his view was blocked by players. He never saw the ball clear the fence off the bat of Warren Morris. Only watched the LSU players' reactions and their celebration. He actually didn't watch the Morris home run on video until 2000, looking at some instructional videos because he was hired by LSU. So now he's a big fan of the Warren Morris home run shot.
Yeah, talk about a change in emotion, David. This one's cued. Burt bobbles and throws onto the pitcher cover. Carrillo gets there. Another quick inning for Carrillo, a 5-pitch inning. He has completed 7 and has the lead. So we go to the bottom of the 7th. Miami holding on to a 9-5 lead over LSU. Opening game for both of these ball clubs. The winner goes on to the winner's bracket. The loser will be only 1 game away from elimination. Detterman will face the 5, 6, 7 men in the order, starting with Brian Barton. Barton played 1 year of baseball at Loyola Marymount out on the West Coast, hit 192, and walked into Jim Morris's office. Jim Morris did not have any idea who he was. I don't believe he mentioned his 192 batting average, but he did mention the fact that he was drafted out of high school by the Dodgers, and Jim Morris made a phone call, and he gave the young man a tryout. Found out he was also a student in aerospace engineering, and after those facts came to light, Jim Morris had found him someone.
Well, you look at this young man, Brian Barton, and you think, this guy looks like a Jermaine Dye body type, Juan Encarnacion. He looks like he could flat out swing the bat with some practice.
Takes that one for a called strike 3 from Detterman. Well, you talk about guys having something to fall back on. Aerospace engineering's all right.
I'm telling you.
Has worked for Boeing in the off season. I just can't imagine.
Aerospace engineering.
No.
I had trouble. I worked for Consolidated Freightways. Does that count?
Maybe.
Loading trucks.
Depending on how high the trucks got. Blake Gill, the shortstop, across quickly, 2 gone. They're awfully proud of their young man. He should be very proud of himself. That's the shot from our Monster.com camera across the street at the Henry Dorley Zoo as the last vestiges of light starting to disappear here in Omaha. Just a beautiful scene. This is a great place for baseball, especially with all the emotion that's involved in the College World Series. Sanchez lofts it to right. Zarang, 2 steps from the warning track, makes the catch. The 7th is history. We'll go to the 8th inning. Miami with that 4-run lead on LSU.
Quebec's a French-speaking province. My grandparents are Slovenian and Italian, which is my mom is Slovenian, my dad is Italian. And then I went to French school in Montreal, Canada, which everybody knows is a French-speaking city, and that's pretty much how I started speaking all those 4 languages. Bienvenue à Omaha et aux Séries mondiales collégiales 2004.
Ivan Nakarada, and you know how inadequate that makes me feel. I spent 3 weeks in Montreal covering the Olympics many moons ago. I learned how to say beef in French. That was it. In 21 days. I ate well.
The only French word that I know is Larry Walker.
It's a good one to know.
So you said you knew how to say beef in French?
I believe it was Beth. Beth, something like that.
Very good. That's outstanding.
They would bring me. Yeah. Yeah, I can eat with either hand. It's they'd bring me a big plate of beef every night. It was pretty good. Pretty good. I had 4 years of Spanish in school. I can't order anything in Spanish, but I did learn, when you're starving to death, you learn the one word.
I think that's the same thing you call the big guys on the beach. Biff, biff, boof, biff, something like that.
Something. High fastball, 2-2.
How amazing is it that Cesar Surreal has really calmed down and come back after 5 runs in the first 2 innings and has pitched like a champ here lately?
That has been his pattern all year. Grounded to Burt. He'll take it himself. And my question for you, Jeff, he's over 125 pitches now. How long do you go with this young man? I mean, if he's this hot and getting through innings this quick, do you want him to finish?
I don't think he's going to finish this ball game, but I do believe that as long as nobody gets on in this inning, he will finish this inning, but this will be his last inning. If anybody gets on in this inning, I think he's going to be out.
57 pitches in the first 2 innings when he gave up 5 runs. He did not look like the ace of the Miami staff, but he has since then. 1 out, nobody on. Liuza comes to the plate. And Danny Gill is up and working for the Hurricanes just in case. Remember, their closer and their setup man no longer with the team, suspended by Jim Morris for violations of team rules. And that was something you commented on in the meeting this morning, and when I read it earlier in the week, you have to be so proud of what he did as a head coach in an academic setting to do that, knowing what he was going to lose from his ball club.
In today's sports environment, there's too much leeway that goes with the inmates running the asylum.
Amen.
And this man right here, Jim Morris, made the decision to shut that down. And I think all of his players will respect him and the alumni for that.
Giannotti toward the line, makes the catch, 2 out. Well, you would hope so. There always will be that element who says, how can you do that? How can you get rid of 2 talented guys? But you take a chance on losing your team. You take a chance on losing your own integrity and the school's integrity.
Well, let's face it, Mike. This game is great. This is a great game, and I love being here. But these kids are not here just to play baseball. They're here to get a college degree, because the chances of them making it somewhere that they're going to make some money playing baseball are slim and none.
Clay Harris stands in with 2 out and nobody on for LSU.
We talked about the aerospace engineering for Brian Barton. I tell you what, I congratulate that young man for his diligence in his work, in his schoolwork.
And there are several honor roll students on this ball club. And I've always believed you can't have sets of rules for different guys.
No.
There's one set of rules. You break them, you pay the price.
That's right.
But there aren't a lot of people that seem to agree with that these days.
Right. Jim Morris does.
Yes, he does. And good for him.
I bet there's not anybody else breaking rules.
That's for sure. Yeah, when you see the closer and the setup man walk out the door, that pretty much tells you. 1-2, high fastball lined into right. Clay Harris saw that high fastball, went up and got it. And LSU needs base runners here in the 8th, down by 4. We're in Omaha with a 4-run lead for Miami in the 8th inning. It was a slugfest to start with here at Rosenblatt Stadium. 10 runs combined scored in the first 2 innings. Since then, pitching has dominated, except for 1 inning when Miami broke out. Ground ball to third. Force play at second base, as Gabby Sanchez took the short route, got the final out of the inning. And it's still 9-5. Hurricanes on top. Bottom of the 8th, it's 9-5 Miami over LSU. And the reason this was broken open, Jeff Brantley here to explain.
Well, you see Adam Ricks at the plate. He tries to drag bunt, and Detterman stays away from him, keeping fastballs and changeups away. Fastball away right there. Then he goes to a changeup that stays over the plate. Well, when you're throwing fastballs away, all you're going to do when you throw a changeup is speed the bat up. A fastball here, a fastball here. Well, then when you throw the changeup, the bat gets here. Well, guess where the ball goes? Right over the left field fence. All he did was speed his bat up. He should have come back inside with a fastball. He would have put him away, and it'd have been over with. And then we may have a little closer score than what we've got right now.
There's a pitcher who looks like he knew how to handle that bat. We'll have to get into that more as the week works along. And the new pitcher coming in for the Tigers is Greg Smith, a lefty, a sophomore from Alexandria, Louisiana, 6 feet, 190 pounds. Good ERA of 2.43, and has pitched 29 2/3 innings this year with 33 strikeouts. I like the way you rolled your wrists when you held that bat for the home run swing.
I was faking it.
Big swing and a miss by Tomas.
I actually did go to Mississippi State as a shortstop, but they threw sliders, and I had a real problem with that.
Well, you should always point that out, because shortstops, as everyone knows, are the best athletes on the ball club.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that, but
even if they turn them into pitchers, they're the best athletes.
They did turn me into a pitcher quick. After a couple of swings, We better get this kid on the mound.
0-2, fouled off the catcher's mask. That'll get Liuz's attention. And part of the record crowd of 26,530 taking an early exit. I've never understood why people would bother to come to a ball game and then leave early. I have never understood. One gone on the strikeout. And the crowds here have grown every single year. The attendance tonight, 26,530. That is the largest attendance for any session. And I guarantee you they'll break it again next year if they don't break it later this week.
I've got to believe they're going to break it later this week.
And in the 2 sessions this afternoon, they were split sessions. So anyone that was here, even if they had a ticket for the night game, had to leave. 50,506. And trust me, that just fills up this ballpark.
Oh, yeah. You know, and they talk about expanding this place or trying to do something different. I think this is about as cozy as you can get it. I don't care if you got 26,000. It doesn't matter how many people you want in here. This is the perfect atmosphere for collegiate baseball at a championship finals.
Couldn't agree with you more. Giannotti, the number 9 hitter, in a 1-2 hole. After this, we would go back to the top of the order for Miami, as they would love to add to this lead, which stands at 4 right now. Inside, and it nipped him. And in contrast to last night's game, when every other batter seemed to get plunked, we haven't had many inside pitches tonight.
Well, this ball, he wants it inside, but a lot of young pitchers, what happens when they come inside, they try to throw the ball a little bit too hard. They hold on to it just a little bit too long, and the ball rides inside a little bit too far, and that's what happened right there.
John Jay will stand in, 1 on and 1 out. Jay tripled his last time up, also has a single on the night. And it's up to Greg Smith to at least hold it at 4 and give LSU's big bats a chance in the 9th inning.
Well, the one thing that you can never do is count LSU out, and I guarantee you the one guy that won't count them out is standing in the third base coach's box right now.
That's for sure.
Good job, Rich. Rich, we ain't going anywhere, okay? Yeah, we ain't going anywhere.
Baseball is the one sport where you really better never take anything for granted, because as Dave Ryan told the story earlier, Jim Morris was designing the ring that they were going to get.
He won't design it again. He won't do it again.
When Warren Morris hit that home run back in '96, and there was no ring to design.
You can see Miami's first base coach talking to Richard Giannotti. You are not going anywhere. Stay there. Shorten up your lead. Look at him now.
Missed badly with another fastball.
You can watch this next lead by Giannotti. He doesn't get out there but about 2 steps. That's about it right there. He could fall back and land on his face on the bag.
They don't face a lot of quality left-handers, a lot of teams, and it's very difficult to get a lead off at first place without being dead meat over there. Base on balls to John Jay, and now 2 on with 1 out. Tomorrow we'll have an elimination game at 2 o'clock on ESPN HD with Arizona and Arkansas. As Mike Martin always said, for someone it's 0-2 in a barbecue. And then Sunday night at 7 o'clock, Texas and Georgia in a winner's bracket game. Cal State Fullerton standing by for the winner of this one. South Carolina will get the loser. And how about South Carolina's problems in the opening game of the College World Series? They simply cannot score a run. Adam Ricks takes a fastball right down the heart of the plate. Ricks homered his last time up, also has a single and a double.
Thing about that South Carolina club is they have got some great offensive players.
Don't they?
I don't know. It must be just the fact they tried too hard in that first ball game.
This one's popped off the right side. It'll twist back in the stands. 3 years in a row they get to the College World Series, as you said, with all that offensive talent, and they don't score all 3 years.
And it's not like they didn't have some chances today.
No.
They had some chances.
Greg Smith trying to get out of a jam here of his own creation, a hit batter and a base on balls. And now to the dangerous Adam Ricks, 0-2. Beautiful hook. Called strike 3.
Now, when you hear us talk about backdoor breaking ball, that is a backdoor breaking ball at the finest. It starts in the left-handed batter's box and breaks right across the outside corner. If you're a hitter, you can't swing because you see it as a ball, and all of a sudden that ball starts to break back to the corner, and you just say, oh, well, tip my hat.
Ryan Braun with 2 out and 2 on. His only hit tonight back in the first, a home run to left. His 10th of the season. He and Ricks trail Jim Burt and Eric San Pedro for the club lead in that department. Fastball sails high, 1-0. LSU can ill afford to give up any more runs. 4 always seems to be the Maginot line.
Keep them within slam reach. That's the old Dusty Baker saying, well, let's just keep them within slam reach. We got a chance.
There are no 5-run home runs. Good fastball. Burt is on deck hoping for another chance to hit. First and second, 2 out here in the bottom of the 8th. Who will ever forget that picture of Jim Burt as a little boy on his father's shoulder after the Super Bowl? Another nice curveball for a called strike.
I'd like to see him put him up on his shoulder now.
Might be a little strained to do that.
I think Dad might have to climb on up.
Yeah. Saw Dad the other day on television. He looked like he was still in tremendous shape. And so proud of his son. In the dirt. Nice block. Lyosa to third. They got it. Beautiful play by Lyosa. Blocked it, pounced on it, and threw him out at third to end the inning. We will go to the 9th. LSU down by 4, trying to get back in this College World Series game.
NCAA Championships on ESPN. The College World Series is brought to you by Eagle One Waxes You Dry. Just spray it on a wet car and dry off to an amazing shine.
We're in the 9th in Omaha, where it's 9-5 Miami over LSU. Now let's take a look at our Pontiac high performance moment. Deep left to the track, gone. He got that one out over the plate, and Adam Ricks has his 11th home run of the year. That took the lead from 2 to 4 runs, and that is huge. And this is the new pitcher, Danny Gill, who comes on for Carrillo, who was knocked around in the first 2 innings and was brilliant after that. And you say this is there's a specific reason Danny Gill is there right now.
Well, I think that Jim Morris knows that in order for him to pull off a win in this College World Series, he's got to have Danny Gill at the end of the ball game. He's 8-0. He needs him out there getting his feet wet, get out there, get that first game out of the way, and get some pitching going.
5 saves on the season. And he'll have to face the top of the order, starting with J.C. Holt, who has 2 hits. Called strike. You were pitching late in the game with a lead. Was it all about throwing strikes?
Throwing strike 1.
Hit on the ground. Great diving stop. Ricks got it. How about that? from a knee and throws him out. That's pretty.
What I think is a great awareness play by Adam Ricks there is that he realizes the speed of J.C. Holt, knowing that he can't get back to his feet. He's got to throw that ball from a knee, and he makes a perfect strike to Jim Burt at first base.
So Ricks has shown you the ability to hit one out and the ability to play with the leather as well. 2-0 to Ryan Patterson.
Did you see San Pedro right there? Hey, let's go. Throw some strikes.
And he does. Miami wins. It would be a 13th straight. And the SEC, which has placed 4 teams in this field, would only be 1-3. And that conference, they just beat each other up this year. Lost him. Father's Day doubleheader on ESPN HD tomorrow. For a full schedule, all you have to do is log on to ESPN.com and search HD. You'll see Arizona, Arkansas at 2. Then the Yankees against the Dodgers at 8 o'clock on ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. John Miller and Joe Morgan will be bringing you that one. And Jeff and I will be on ESPN2 for another College World Series game and a winner's bracket game here in Omaha.
Bound to be a good one.
Blake Gill takes a fastball high, and LSU needs runners right now. 18-0 when Carrillo is in a ball game. 15-0 when he starts. And right now they have a chance to increase both of those numbers by 1. But it's up to Gill. Fastball is in there.
Well, you see Danny Gill, a lot of the pitches that he's throwing are normally strikes, but today's umpire behind the plate has been giving that low strike zone, and Danny Gill has got to make sure that he gets that ball down.
That one's outside the line to third for 1, and that's a double play. Gill, Blake Gill, lines into a double play off the pitch from Danny Gill. And the rally never has a chance to get started. And Miami has beaten LSU 9-5. Carrillo the winner. He is 12-0 on the year. Detterman gets the loss in relief, although he pitched very well. And he falls to 6-5. But Carrillo did exactly what you said you expected him to do. After those 2 innings of struggling, he settled down and was masterful.
Well, being his first time here in the College World Series, first time in Omaha, having not pitched any last year, I really thought that he would struggle more than what he did. And even though he gave up 5 runs in those first couple of innings, he did settle down. He really started to feel himself in the 3rd and the 4th inning, and then he just absolutely came on. I think if they didn't have to have Danny Gill out there in the 9th inning, he could have finished this ball game.
9-5 the final. Turned into a pitcher's duel after the first 2 innings for the most part. And Miami showed offense as well as pitching and defense. And they certainly have to be considered one of the favorites. Let's go to Dave Ryan. David?
All right, Caesar, your team is 19-0 when you have a victory. You get out there and pitch, and 16-0 when you start. Why the success every time you're on the mound, do you think?
I just basically go out there, and I know sooner or later we're going to get runs. So whatever happens in the early innings, I know we played 9 innings of baseball, and so everything's going to fall into place sooner or later.
So you kept your confidence as a freshman. Were you nervous for the first time out here in the College World Series mound in Omaha? What was that like?
Yeah, a little bit, but not too much. We had a couple of big crowds against Florida, and all the pressure us being in Florida and coming out here. I was just trying to get us in the dugout and basically go out there and start hitting.
Did it help your confidence to know that your head coach, Jim Morris, didn't warm up anyone? Did you look over to the bullpen a couple times, even though you struggled, no one was getting warm?
Yeah, I was like, all right, it's up to me then. So it's up to me to get us in the dugout and go and start get the bats up. And basically, it did help me out a lot.
Congratulations, great game.
Thank you.
Cesar Carrillo, guys.
All right, David, not only is he a heck of a pitcher, but he's a good luck charm. They have never lost when he's been in the ball game. Texas and Georgia in the winner's bracket in bracket 1. They'll play tomorrow night here on ESPN2. Arizona and Arkansas tomorrow afternoon in an elimination game. Then Cal State, Fullerton, and Miami, the winners in the other bracket, they will meet on Monday night at 7 o'clock, while South Carolina and LSU are in the losers bracket on Monday at 2. That will be an elimination game for one of those ball clubs. And you always hate to see that first team leave Omaha 0-2. An impressive performance by Miami tonight. Even though they gave up the 5 early runs, they come back to win it 9-5 here in Omaha. That's the final. Baseball tonight coming up next. For Jeff Brantley, Dave Ryan, and our entire ESPN crew here in Omaha, this is Mike Patrick. Thanks for watching. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Good night, everybody.